I got an early look at Spider-Man Brand New Day, and I've got thoughts. This is going to be completely spoiler-free. There's a whole plot in here I'm not touching, but I can tell you how it feels to sit through it, whether Holland pulls off the tone this thing is going for, and whether it's worth showing up opening weekend for. Spoiler breakdown video coming later this week once everyone's had a chance to see it. For now, here's my honest, vague-on-purpose take. Frame what kind of Spider-Man movie this actually is before getting into opinions. This isn't a continuation of a tightly linked trilogy the way the last three films were. It genuinely feels like a reset, a clean page, in a way the title earns rather than just advertises. A few years have passed since the world-forgetting spell at the end of No Way Home, and Peter's still quietly carrying the weight of everyone he loves not remembering he exists. The clever move the script makes? His powers start glitching, not from any external villain tampering with them, but seemingly tied to his own emotional state. It's Spider-Man and man given equal weight. The powers act up because the person underneath is struggling, and everyone around him has no idea because he hides it so well.
Holland's performance? Well, this is the section to spend real time on, since it's the strongest part of the film. Every actor who's played Peter has brought a different angle to the role, and this is easily the most emotionally demanding version Holland's gotten to play. It works specifically because the story keeps him grounded. No galaxy hopping, no juggling 6 other MCU plot lines, just a guy in New York dealing with real weight. That's the version of Spider-Man people actually fell in love with in the first place. The gap between how the public sees him and what he's quietly carrying underneath. If that sounds familiar, it should. It's the same emotional engine that made the best Spider-Man films of the last 25 years work. And this is the first time this particular Spider-Man has really leaned into it.
Every live-action Spider-Man eventually sends Peter to a brilliant, slightly unstable scientist for answers when his body starts doing something new. This time, it's Bruce Banner, and the choice mostly works. It's earned rather than a random cameo slot, even if there's a fair argument that the Hulk material exists partly because Marvel wants Hulk in the movie, not purely because the story needed him specifically. Set that aside, though, because the first half of this movie, arguably more than half, is the most purely Spider-Man this franchise has felt in a long time. Small stakes, personal stakes, a guy swinging around his own neighborhood trying to hold his life together. That stretch alone is worth the ticket. On the antagonist side, costumed villains show up fully formed here. No real explanation for where the suits and gear came from. And honestly, that's fine. It's become part of the shorthand this franchise gets to use now that Spider-Man's been established this long. Michael Mando's back as Scorpion, now with the full armored look and the mechanical tail, and he's more present in the film than expected, even if he's not the central focus. One other legacy villain gets even less time in the spotlight than that. Enough for recognition, not enough to leave much of an impression. This is the biggest surprise, and worth its own dedicated block. Jon Bernthal and Tom Holland together are genuinely great. It plays almost like a mismatched buddy dynamic. Frank Castle's brutal, no-mercy worldview bouncing directly off Peter's idealism, and the friction between those two philosophies is exactly what makes the pairing work. He's in the film more than expected, too, and it pays off. If Marvel wants to build an entire Spider-Man Punisher team-up off the strength of this dynamic alone, sign up immediately. The relationship material lands hard. Watching Peter navigate friendships with people who have no memory of ever caring about him is genuinely painful in the best way. And that emotional through line is probably the film's most effective element, alongside Holland's performance. The trade-off? It runs long. This is sitting around 2 hours, 25 minutes, and there's a version of this movie tightened to closer to 2 hours that hits just as hard without some of the stretches that could have been trimmed. Not a deal breaker, but noticeable in the seat. Quick spoiler-free flag, there is one, and it's not a mid-credits scene. It's tucked at the very end after the full credits roll, so pack patience if you're staying. Whether it's worth the wait depends on how much you need a payoff versus just enjoying the reference for what it is. The reaction in the room at the screening was mixed at best. A few audible groans, even though the reference itself is a genuinely clever one if you clock it.
fair to walk in with lowered expectations on this one specifically. One more thing worth noting, this stays a fundamentally hopeful, optimistic version of Spider-Man throughout. No cynical tabloid editor character undercutting the public's opinion of him this time. The external world stays warm and supportive, even while Peter's internal state is anything but. That contrast is doing a lot of quiet work to keep the film from feeling bleak, despite the heavier themes.
Bottom line, Spider-Man Brand New Day is a genuinely fun, emotionally rich entry that brings back the friendly neighborhood feeling this franchise has been missing. It's just a little too long for its own good, and the credit scene payoff undercuts itself a bit. Still, this was a great time at the movies. No complaints on the whole. Full spoiler talk video coming later this week once you've all had a chance to see it. Subscribe so you don't miss that one. Until then, have you seen it yet, or are you about to? And either way, where does this rank in your all-time Spider-Man list? Comment below, let me know.